You are now listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc, sharing insights through real, honest, and practical ways to improve your communication and relationships. Featuring your hosts, Dr. Pamela Kreiser, Meredith Edwards-Nagel, and Taylor Polindo.
Thanks for tuning in to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc. If you'll notice, TalkDoc's voice is a little bit deeper this week. Or maybe it's because the men are taking over in honor of Father's Day. So my name is Raphael Polindo, also known as Ralph. I am Taylor's baby daddy. Also joined by Pete Kreiser and Tommy Nagel. If you happen to miss the last Father's Day episode, episode 54, make sure you tune in and check that one out so that you can get caught up on what we're going to be talking about today. The big exciting news is Tommy is now officially a father. I think last time we recorded, he was sweating bullets because he was about to become a dad. And so now he is a seasoned veteran, complete with lack of sleep and baby vomit stains on all of his T-shirts. So, Tommy, welcome to the club.
Thanks. It's been a great year.
All right. And Pete, do you want to kick off this episode?
Yeah. In today's episode, we're going to pepper Tommy with some questions now that he is a dad and has been a dad for a bit. We're going to flip the tables on what we did last Father's Day, where Tommy was asking Ralph and me for our thoughts on what fatherhood was like and what to expect. Tommy, get ready because we have prepared a few questions for you. I know you're going to be on the hot seat today, but we do want to hear what your experience has been like.
I'm excited.
Well, how long have you been a dad?
So it's just past a year. So I've been a dad for 1 year, and it has been amazing. I had a baby girl, and she's a beautiful, healthy 1-year-old, which is awesome. Very blessed. Also would like to note that I have not been given these questions prior, so I have no idea what you guys are going to ask me.
That's right. Now, Ralph, I understand you may have something up your sleeve for us.
I do. I have 3 questions for Tommy to grill him about new dad status. It is an informal quiz, not an official one, but just a Tommy quiz to test his new dad knowledge. So, Tommy,
Yes.
both you and I share in common the fact that we started having kids later in life. We are older dads. And not surprisingly, that's actually a trend across the United States. The average age of newborn fathers has grown by 3.5 years over the past 4 decades, according to a study from Stanford. Tommy, the question is, men over the age of 40 now account for what % of all U.S. births?
Oh, it's not even a multiple choice.
Nope, we're just going for it.
Over the age of 40?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go with 40%.
A little too high. We're at 9%, but it's still
No,
it's still
9%.
pretty high.
I was going to say, I just...
Yeah.
What's the number one age range now? You said it went up.
I think it's still in the 20s.
20 still?
Is it? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But, older, spry gentlemen like us are having kids later in life. So
That's right.
yeah. Not surprisingly, more dads are staying home to take care of their kids. Unfortunately, this stat I have is pre-2020, so I'm sure it's even higher thanks to COVID and people working from home. Dads make up what % of all stay-at-home parents?
Let's go with 18%.
Oh, almost on the money. 17%. Well done.
Ooh, nice.
Well done. I'll give you a point for that one. You're within 5. And here's the most important stat. New dads lose X amount of hours of sleep in the first year of raising a child. I'll give you within 10 hours on this one.
Like a total overall for the year?
Total for the year, how many hours of sleep do new dads lose in the first
math.
year?
That we lose?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, let's do math. What would can I pull out a calculator?
Go for it. I'll allow it. You can phone a friend.
Right. Phoning a friend right now. So how much do we lose? So we'll say that we lose maybe on average 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night.
Okay.
Let's go with 3 hours times 365 days. 1,095.
New dads
that
lose 90 hours of sleep.
90
in the first
hours?
year. Only 90.
Only 90. That's still a lot.
Not surprisingly, new moms lose significantly more. But
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
all right.
You did, yeah.
You nailed one of those on the head.
That's true.
There you go.
1 out of 3. It's passing somewhere.
I'm just going off my first year. I'm thinking, well, I probably, maybe 3's high, because even if I got 7 hours and I'm averaging 5 or 6 now, so that's like an hour, maybe an hour a night that I'm losing.
Yeah.
Totally worth it, though. All right, what else
Yeah.
do you guys have for me?
I've got a quiz for both of you. Here we go. The first question is, worldwide, how many babies were born in 2022? Worldwide.
Worldwide?
Worldwide.
No multiple choice, just straight number.
No multiple choice. Closest to the mark gets the prize.
1 billion?
I think that's too high.
Ralph says 1 billion.
Well, it's whoever's closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will go 900.
Closer without going over?
999,000 or 999 million, Tommy? I'm just
A
checking.
million, yeah, not thousand, million.
I got you. Well, Tommy, you rang the bell on that one. It is actually a lot lower than 999 million. It's
Yeah, I figured.
134 million.
Oh, I was going to say
entire year.
200
A lot
million.
of babies.
That's a lot of babies. My gut was saying 200 million, but then Ralph went to 1 billion, and I was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
I could be way off.
I just went for it.
Just went for
March.
it. Go
Okay,
big or
next
go home.
question. In the United States, what percentage of births are delivered cesarean?
Ooh,
I'd say 30.
Ralph says 30%. Tommy?
I'd say 40. I
40.
feel like the United States
Ralph,
is a lot more now.
You're right. You're almost exactly right. 32%.
32%.
I pulled a Tommy. Nice.
And I think that's gone up. It surprised me, actually. I wouldn't have guessed a third of all births. That is in the United States, though. All right, next question. In 1982, 43% of dads said they had never changed a diaper.
In 1982? Wow, that wasn't even that long ago.
This dramatically improved by the year 2000. What was the percentage of dads who said they had never changed a diaper in the year 2000?
Tommy, you get first shot.
Let's say 21%.
I mean, I was going to say 20, so I'll just take that. He's got over, I
Okay.
got under.
You are closer, Ralph. It's 3%.
Whoa.
So almost all
3%?
dads said they
Oh my
have changed a diaper in the year
All right.
2000. That's a
Wow.
big
Way to go,
difference from
dads.
1982.
Yeah.
Step it up.
That's
Times
huge.
changed. I think it's probably 0 now. Here's the bonus question. I guess, Tommy, this gives you a chance to tie.
Okay, thanks. Or lose
And
big time.
and this is because I'm a marketing guy. According to USA Today, what year was the first time Huggies featured a dad on their diaper packaging?
Let's say 95.
95.
Says 1995.
I'll say 1990. I think it was before then.
90. Ralph,
Oh, boy.
you're closest.
Wow.
But you're still a long way off.
Ah.
It wasn't until 2019.
Whoa.
2019? Holy.
2019.
That is sexist.
Wow.
What's going on
Okay.
there? I mean, the dads were changing the diapers according to the
Seriously.
previous question. So, Ralph, you have shown us that you can take a quiz and win. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
He has more
All
years
right.
than me.
And I think
As
we
a
can
dad.
go on to other questions. Do you want to shoot first?
Sure. I was surprised to find out in the British Psychological Society's journal, they said that dad jokes are important to help children learn to be embarrassed and toughen them up to accept that embarrassment isn't necessarily a bad thing. So with that in mind, Tommy, what is your favorite dad joke?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. My favorite dad joke. I don't even know if I have any. And I think I have a dad joke book.
You haven't said any that caused Meredith's eyes to roll so far in the back of her head that they nearly got stuck.
Let's see. I gotta think of one here.
All right, and you can come back to that one and answer it if it comes to you later.
Yeah, I might have to think about that one.
All right.
I'll think about it.
So, Tommy, I was thinking about some of the questions you asked us and last time through.
Okay.
And then thinking about, well, what would I want to ask Tommy now, almost 1 year in, of sort of how it's gone a little bit in different areas? Because now you have the practical experience, or at least a year of it. Obviously, bonding with the baby is important.
Yes.
How in the last year have you bonded with baby? what's worked, what didn't, and yeah.
That's a great question. You know, bonding with your own child it's one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And it's funny because I'm a avid believer, and I think, Ralph, you and I talked about this, about skin to skin. I think especially when they're newborn. So I did a lot of that. I feel like it's magic. It's just nature. It's magic. And when they're that little, there's just this, you know, could speak on it for an hour. There's just this special feeling that you hear from other parents and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure. But when you finally get to hold your child and feel their skin against yours, it's just an incredible bonding experience. As far as like feeling her bond to me, I mean, there was some bonding as a newborn, but I also think it's so survival at that point. It's really about mom, you know? But as she got older, it was funny. I think there was like a period where, you know, she didn't want me as much, you know? And I'd say in the last probably 4 or 5 months, maybe even 6 months, you know, after they're like 6 months old, there's been like these dramatic changes. And I feel like every day it's a new thing, a new bonding experience. Like, for instance, Nova loves to go outside with me. And she even knows how to reach for the door handle to, like, she can't push the sliding glass door open, but she'll grab onto it, and then I'll push it open so she thinks she did. But it's funny because I'll just take her outside, and she loves just looking at the trees, and we enjoy nature together. And I'll even go to carry her back inside, or Meredith will be like, "Oh, come inside," and it's like she has ants in her pants. She like squirms all over me, like fighting to stay outside. And it's like, you know, it's kind of like it's a win for me as a dad, because I'm like, yeah, she wants to do this with me, you know. And it's just such a great feeling. And yeah, there's lots of little moments like that I'm really starting to see now. And this is a fun age, being around one, at least. I mean, I've never experienced it before, but I'm really having a good time with it, because I see her eyes light up, you know, when I come in the room, or, you know, if I go to the store and come home, or stuff, you know, stuff like that. And it feels like this just amazing bond. Like I really am her father, you know, and it still blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, I'm your dad. So it's cool. It's a really cool experience.
When you talked about coming into the room and her eyes lighting up, it reminded me too of when we did our last podcast, Ralph. The other thing you talked about was eye contact. And how important that is, and it has to do with kind of the way the brain forms, the neural pathways and all of that. So yeah. I'm wondering though, Tommy, just a quick follow-on question, because I came across this phrase that was unfamiliar to me when we had small children, called wearing your baby. When we had our kids, you know, when dinosaurs still roamed the earth, guys didn't wear the baby. Like, we would hold the baby and we'd carry the baby around, but we didn't have all the different devices that are available today, which I think are so cool. Like, I feel like in a way I maybe missed out on something. Was that part of your experience when you sort of carrying the baby? Or I don't know, maybe you can help me understand what that is, where you're wearing the baby.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. It's so funny. I was just talking to an aunt of mine the other day, because they just have so many cool gadgets now. And I get it, you know, that our parents and you guys, I guess, didn't have. So I guess wearing the baby, they do make these kind of, it's not really a backpack, it's like a front pack. Right. And they are pretty cool. Not going to lie. They're really cool. And I haven't honestly used it a lot lately, but the first several months it was really, really handy, you know, because they're sleeping so much on and off throughout the day. And it really helps you still be able to get stuff done. You know, whether it's just doing things around the house, you can kind of still be hands-free. And she just would fall asleep in it. I mean, she would just, and it was also cool because it was part of the going back to the bonding. You know, instead of her just falling asleep and laying down, she was asleep on my chest while I'm, you know, checking emails or cleaning up the kitchen or doing whatever. And she was still next to me, you know, which was just, it's a cool experience.
You talked about gadgets. And as I was doing some homework for this episode, I came across some of the just everything that's available to buy for your baby now. Strollers with auto braking, sensors in car seats.
Oh, wow.
And, bassinets that hush the baby without you being involved. And there's a lot out there, but I'm not sure how to think about all of that. But I think when it comes to something that's able to keep the baby right next to you in the front, probably also save your back by having the weight properly distributed, and then you can go about your day sounds pretty cool. So Ralph, why don't I pass it over to you again for another question, Tommy?
Sure.
Before you do that, Ralph, I wanted to ask you, have you guys heard, we're talking about gadgets. I just read this the other day and it was pretty interesting. Have you heard of that new chocolate record player?
No.
It sounds pretty sweet.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Way to bring it full circle.
Very nice, Tommy.
And that's our episode today, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, we can continue now.
That is such a dad joke.
Well played. Well played. Before you had your daughter, you're probably getting a ton of advice from people, whether solicited or unsolicited. And now, as you reflect back on the first year, what piece of advice do you feel like was the most helpful that you received?
Two things, and one I won't talk about because we kind of talked about it, but it was actually the skin to skin. Before I think we got pregnant, I'd kind of heard of it, but didn't really look into it, and I've never experienced it. And I think that's so important, especially for a dad, because when you have your baby, I mean, it's like, it's incredible watching, your partner, that child is surviving pretty solely on the mom in the beginning, And I think that skin to skin contact, especially for a father, because they get it naturally with the mom, especially if they're breastfeeding, is just so important for bonding. The second thing, and I think maybe it sounds kind of cheesy or obvious, but everyone talks about, it goes by so fast, but shit, it really does. And the advice of just really working on being present and slowing down a little bit, because I swear one day, your child's doing this and the next day they're doing something totally different or moved on from that thing. And it's like, oh, you could have missed that. I just think it's really important just to be present and enjoy all those moments, because they really do go fast. I know it's a cliche, but they really do.
It's huge.
In her life.
That is really good. Really good.
I had read something a while back that helped me to better grasp the concept of being present, because I think it's a phrase that we hear a lot and we say a lot, and I think sometimes we may not know exactly what it means or how to experience it. But the thing that I read a while back was talking about the simplest way to be present is to ground yourself in your five senses. And so in whatever moment you find yourself in, because that's how we experience the present, is through those senses, is stop and reflect. What am I seeing right now? What am I hearing right now? What am I tasting right now? What am I smelling right now? And that really is a good practice and exercise to really, like I said, ground yourself in the current moment. And I know, especially as a new dad, lying your baby down to sleep and you just close your eyes and you hear their breathing, and it just really kind of lets you focus on them. Or, now that kids are older and we get to share food, what are we tasting together? What are they experiencing? When they're eating something for the first time, it's a really awesome moment to be present for that. And I try and remind myself when I find those moments to really try and take inventory of what I'm experiencing through my five senses. And that really helps to ground me in that moment and kind of lock away a mental memory that I can, refer back to later when that moment's gone.
I love that.
That's good.
I love that.
Yeah. So picking up on that, Ralph, and thinking about the five senses and being present, what have you learned about being present for your daughter, but also being present for your wife?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I think it's one of the most important questions. There's so many broken homes now, and I think it's so important. And you hear it all the time, this negativity of wait till you have kids and, your marriage is over and all this. And I think it's bullshit. I don't believe in it. It just takes work. And it comes down to finding balance, right? And you know, it's so important to have balance just in life. But, you know, with Meredith and I think a key has been communication. And going into this, you know, we knew, hey, we're having a kid, things are going to change. We can't just 4 o'clock go, hey, you're off, you're done with work, cool. You want to go get a drink? You know, you just can't just pop out and just do whatever you want whenever you want. It's definitely a challenge. For us, it's gone well. I think Meredith and I always say, you know, when things are kind of tough, to try to stay positive, we tell each other, hey, we're just entering seasons. I remember one of the hardest times during the first year was getting her to sleep in her crib, and she went through a sleep regression. And one of the things we did was I took over at night because our daughter, obviously, every time she saw my wife, wanted to breastfeed and then didn't want to go back to bed. So for 2 months, you know, I got up 3-4 times a night and was just doing the night shift to just get her used to, try to get her used to, like, nope, it's bedtime. It's time to go to sleep. And it was really hard on us as a married couple because we were both exhausted. And there's just a period too where it's like, wow, we haven't like even had dinner, just the two of us, in like a month, you know? And I think you're gonna have those periods, especially the first year, I think, of being a parent. But it's just really important we find little ways, especially now that she does go to sleep, instead of just, you know, being on our phones or just turning the TV on right away. We take an hour just to, like, hey, how's your day? Like, you know, what's the plan for tomorrow? We really check in with each other. And as of late, well, not just as of late, last several months, we always make it a point, you know, to set aside date nights, and whether that's going out or maybe it's just, hey, when she goes to bed, we're going to do something a little different tonight. Have a little date night, or, you know, whatever, whatever that may be. You know, maybe you want to sit home and play Scrabble together or something, but you have to have that together time. And I think it's just really, really important because that relieves stress, and it puts us in a better headspace to be present, going back to being present with Nova or with our daughter, which benefits her. So it's like everybody wins, you know. But it's a challenge. You just have to make a point to find that balance, and also just communicate. Meredith and I have a thing, and I can't remember if she brought it up or we heard it on a podcast or something, and we kind of took it, you know. And we do this thing where it's like, you know, if she's had a really hard day with Nova, or I've had a really hard day with Nova or with work or whatnot, we kind of go to each other and I say, hey, what % you at? And she'll be like, you know, if she's had a really rough day, she's like, I'm at 20%. I was like, all right, I'm at 50. So let me change the diapers now, you know, or whatever, or I'll clean up the dishes. And it kind of works for us. It's kind of, you know, we kind of laugh about it, but it's a way to check in with each other to see where we're at.
It's good.
So,
yeah, that's really good. I think I'll talk to TalkDoc about us talking to each. I think we sort of say that to each other, but not in that exact way. And it's so quick and easy.
it's fun.
To say it that way, like how empty is your tank?
Yeah, and it really has worked for us. We started that, I think, right before she was born. We heard it, and we've really used it being parents. You know, we kind of smile at it because obviously we'll help each other out if we need what we need. But it's a quick little check in, like, hey, where you at? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm at 60. Okay, I'm more in the 40. All right, hey, I'll handle this or whatever. So
good. Yeah, that's great. It sounds like, Tommy, I was listening to you respond to that question, and I thought, man, you guys, you're getting a lot right. Good job.
Thanks. I think one of the hardest things for us is the sleep thing, you know, and maybe it's just us, but if you don't get sleep, you know, it makes life a lot harder. Especially when it's like, well, I still got to get this work done. We still got to do this. We still got to do that. And, you know, she's up at 5 a.m. ready to play. And it's like, well, okay. But I think, you know, I'm really proud of us. I'm really lucky for my wife. I couldn't imagine it going this well with anyone else. And she, I don't even have really words of how incredible she's been. And it's one of my greatest joys is watching her be a mom. And I think the reason we do make it work so well is kind of like that, the percentage thing. And really what that is we just communicate. It's really what it comes down to. We talk every day. Every day we talk about how we're feeling, how are things, going with our daughter, how can we improve, how can we help each other. And then we set a time, we really work on setting time, for ourselves. But there was periods, and I'll be honest with you, there was periods where her and I were, we never like fought really or got mad. But we both were, our stress level was up for sure. But we just told each other like, hey, we need a day. We need a date night. Like this, it needs to become priority. And you just make it priority to try to relieve that a little bit.
So a little chance for some more real talk. In terms of if you had any expectations going into fatherhood, were there any expectations that have not been met or something that, hasn't happened that you thought or the way something would be? Or was there a piece of advice someone gave you that turned out to not, be helpful? Just looking for kind of like the flip side of the previous question I asked.
As far as like advice that's been given that really didn't turn out, I don't think it's advice. I think the funny thing is that I've heard, and it kind of bugs me. Meredith and I have talked about this. You hear a lot of negative stuff. It's kind of like we joke, because I'm sorry to say it, but we're madly in love and truly happy. And you hear these things when you're out, like, oh, the old ball and chain or something, and I'm like, you're not my ball and chain at all. Like, you're my roll dog. Like, we're going at this together, We're each other's co-pilot, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think going into fatherhood, you hear some of those things too, like, just saying, oh, we're going to, get her to sleep in her crib at this time, or we have goals, or we're going to, get her to eat good food. You just hear people say, oh yeah, good luck, you'll see. And I don't live my life with that kind of attitude. And of course, there's challenges. Of course, things are not easy. But I can't think of anything right now that Meredith and I haven't really pushed to try that we haven't been able to succeed at with a little bit of work. It doesn't happen overnight. It's frustrating it doesn't happen overnight sometimes. But you just push through, Yeah.
So Father's Day is coming up, and our children were small. I was thinking from time to time about the relationship I have with my own dad, how he raised me. How does that impact how I'm starting to raise my children? So that's my question to you. How has that come into the mix for you in the first year? How has it come in? Tell us about that.
I think it's huge. I think it's huge, and I'm very fortunate and blessed that I have an amazing relationship with my father. I don't think there's a man out there that I respect and look up more. I think my brother can even attest to that. So for me, it's so important, and it saddens me for dads out there that don't have that relationship, or let's say that model. My model isn't perfect. My dad was a dad to me in a different time period, and things have changed, and there's new challenges that we're facing now that they didn't have back then, and all kinds of stuff. But I'm very lucky that there was values placed, and things that I learned that now I can pass on, and I'm also very fortunate. It's tough because I lost my stepmom recently. And I'm fortunate that he's still here, to be a grandpa for my daughter.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's You know, if you do have a dad out there who's now grandpa, you know, just hug him and say thank you and enjoy those moments, because those moments will be even shorter lived than the time with your own child. So, I'm lucky. I'm really lucky.
Oh, appreciate that, Tommy. Thanks for going deep with us on that. All right. We probably should do a closer. Sorry. Do you want to reset for a second, Tommy?
No, it's fine. It's tough. It's one of the things I'm struggling with. I had this vision of, I'm going to have grandma and grandpa over to our house, and they're going to get to play with my daughter, and now it's just grandpa, and it's a weird thing for me that I'm still figuring out, how I feel about it. And I think my dad's figuring it out still, because there were certain things that she did, like, oh, let's, get, our granddaughter some outfits. My dad doesn't really know what to buy for a girl, things like little things. It's a lot of little things. It's a weird feeling, but I still am lucky as hell that I have a dad that is around and healthy, and knock on wood, going to be here for a while. So, and I look forward to seeing her learn from him. You know what I mean? Not just for me, but to see her look to grandpa and be like, oh, show me how to do that, grandpa. Like, I can't wait. I can't, they're starting, but she's only one. So I'm just excited, for this summer, her being outside and yanking at his leg, like, show me, let me do it. Those are going to be awesome moments that I really am looking forward to.
You got one, Ralph?
My final one. So now that, again, you've been a dad almost a year now, do you feel like any of your goals or dreams or ambitions have either changed or revised or updated now that, you've experienced fatherhood and, you learn to pivot as life goes on? So has anything changed for you there? Or for you or as a family or individually?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has. I think it has to, right? It has to, because I have a child now. It doesn't scare me, though, Ralph, honestly. And I think that goes back to just because of the partner I have. I mean, it's funny because my career is a lot to do with, traveling and shooting different locations. So I'm still doing it, but I think now it's actually exciting because Meredith and I talk all the time. Like, I can't wait till she's old enough to, like, let's go see the world,
Yeah.
It's a dream of ours to take her to Africa and do a safari. I think, of course, it's changed in ways, and sometimes I'm doing some editing late at night when it's quiet. But it's all good. In a way, I feel blessed also that I don't have the quote-unquote 9-to-5 job. Most of the time I work from home, so I can be home and spend time with her, and it's priceless that I get to do that. I really feel for those dads out there, and moms, that have to rush off and work long hours or, put their kids in daycare right away. I'm really fortunate that, I haven't had to do that. We haven't had to do that. And Meredith's been able to, be home as well. So yeah, I'm blessed, man.
It's awesome.
That's good. I had one more question, Tommy. I found when the new babies came, if I wasn't careful, the baby dictated all of our time. Or all of my time. I wanted to be around them, and I wanted to show them how much I love them. There were a lot of positive motivations for that, but sometimes I felt like I was losing myself a little bit in that process. So where have you found yourself in the last year getting your time back, maybe in a very small way, for something that you enjoy doing? Have you been able to do that? And if so, what is it?
Yes, and it's funny you bring that up, because there was a moment, or a season, as we like to say, where things were a little tough, and I even told Meredith, and I think it'd been the longest I'd not created something. It was like a month or two or something, and I told her, I was like, I'm starting to feel this. Like, I had to talk to her about it, because like you said, Pete, I felt like I was losing myself a little bit, and I felt like if I don't do that, then I'm not going to be a good dad. If I'm not fulfilled with, my mind and my heart, then how do I give her that? And for me, it's being creative, whether it's, doing photography or editing or whatnot. Again, luckily, Meredith was like, jumped right in. She's like, all right, tomorrow, I'm going to take Nova to the park. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you like 3-4 hours. You do something. Just, do something creative. Get some juices flowing. So, I mean, shit, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I get that. I'm lucky I have that, right? And we do it for each other. Meredith's really been pushing to get her health back and get back in shape and get back to where she was before she, made a human. So I try to work with her to give her that time and say, hey, let me watch the baby and you go work out without interruption. Go have that time. Yeah. Blow some steam off. We talk about it a lot, and it's so really important that you do go blow steam off, whatever that is. I'm still working through it, Pete. I'm still figuring out, as important it is to have time together with your partner and time with your child, I believe it's important to have some just space once in a while. And you could do whatever you want with that time,
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because it's a great companion to what you were talking about earlier, where you were talking about the capacity you had left. But when you were talking about it before, it was more like, well, I have a little more capacity, so I'll do all the things that you don't want to do. It was sort of like I'll get the thing done that nobody wants to do. Whereas now you're talking about, which just brings the other person's tank down further. You're talking about supporting each other so that your tanks can get full again. Yeah,
exactly.
Really beautiful.
It's very true. It works the same way. I'm spent. Could you please do the dishes? Sure, I got that. I'm more energized. Yeah, I'll do it. But it also could be what you're saying is, hey, I'm feeling really spent. Okay, well, let me give you some time to go recharge, whatever that may be. Maybe you need a nap. Maybe you need to work out. Maybe you need to just go to the park and sit and stare at the trees. Whatever it is. It could be anything.
It could be the simplest thing sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need some quiet.
Tommy, any parting thoughts for the listeners or potential new dads or first-year dads out there?
Gosh, there's so much. I think the big thing is, whether or not you want to have a child, or, there's people out there that just don't want kids, and that's totally fine. Meredith and I even spoke at times that, hey, if it doesn't happen, we're okay with that. But if you do have a child, if you do, soak it up and live in that moment, because it is truly one of the most beautiful things in the universe. It really is. And every day I'm blessed, and I'm blessed for my daughter, and I'm blessed for my wife. Shit, I could not do it without, I'm telling you. She's my rock. She's my everything. So special thanks to her, and thanks to you guys as well. And thanks to the TalkDoc and the team. This is fun.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And thank you for listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc. It's probably one of the best ways to not only strengthen your marriage, but also strengthen your fathering abilities, because communication is so key to all of our relationships.
So true. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. Please remember to rate, share, and subscribe to our podcast. And thank you for listening to Asking for a Friend.
Let us know what you thought of the episode. Our email is hello@afafpodcast.com. This show is for educational purposes only and is copyrighted. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. Thanks for listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc.